We are taking a journey to 19th century England. The streets are still quiet under the morning mist, the stone roads cold and calm. Back then, love was not fast and spontaneous like it is today. Every glance, every step, every word was shaped by the invisible rules of society. A courtship was not rushed, but conducted with measured, slow ritual. Eye contact could not last more than a few seconds, and letters were carefully written, line by line. Today, we will explore these boring yet captivating rules step by step. Every detail, following the slow rhythm of the time, will prepare you for a peaceful sleep. Now close your eyes, take a deep breath, and step into the quiet world of Victorian courtship. Chapter 1: The Basic Rules of Courtship and Social Classes. Welcome to Victorian England. This long period, lasting from 1837 to 1901, is considered by historians as one of the eras in which both social order and individual behavior were governed by the strictest rules. During this time, love and romance were very different from today's understanding of freedom. Courtship was not only about mutual interest between two people, but also about family approval, society's gaze, and a demonstration of social status. If a young woman came from the middle or upper class, her life would proceed according to a meticulously planned schedule. She would wake with the first light of morning, have a light breakfast, and then occupy herself with quiet activities such as needlework, sewing, or delicate painting in the early hours of the day. Household routines were designed not merely to pass the time, but to cultivate patience and disciplined character. Every movement, smile, gesture, and expression was measured against the standards of social acceptance. A young man, on the other hand, if he wished to gain the approval of the woman's family, had to make extensive preparations before taking any direct steps. Initial meetings usually took place in family parlors or supervised social events. During these meetings, the young man had to remain quiet, polite, and measured. His words could not be excessive or exaggerated. A wrong gesture or phrase risked not only emotional rejection, but also casting a shadow over one's social standing. The courtship process progressed mostly through letters. Letters were carefully written, with each word thoughtfully chosen. Emotions were not expressed openly. The emotional tone was conveyed only indirectly and subtly. Even the paper, ink, and style of writing mattered. A neat handwriting and precise signature conveyed both respect and seriousness. A misplaced sentence could leave the recipient with an impression of impatience or unreliability. Physical contact was almost entirely forbidden. Holding hands, standing too close, or embracing was socially unacceptable. Even eye contact had to be limited and measured. All these restrictions transformed courtship into a slow, orderly, and deliberate rhythm. Every small gesture had to be planned and calculated, allowing the courting parties to protect both their personal safety and social reputation. Courtship between different social classes was even more complicated. While some rules might be more flexible among the lower classes, in the middle and upper classes, every step required careful strategy. The intention to marry was not only an emotional choice, but also a calculated process involving economic and social status. Family approval was a fundamental part of courtship. Without it, A young man or woman's romantic relationship was nearly impossible. All these rules show that in the Victorian era, courtship was not simply a pastime or romantic game, but a meticulous system that preserved social order and hierarchy. Young people often had to suppress their feelings, learn patience, and plan every move with care. Thus, every glance, greeting, and letter was a small social test. And it was this detailed, monotonous, and slow process that shaped the Victorian understanding of romance. The rhythm of love and courtship was woven through the slow passage of the day, measured walks, quiet observation, and careful planning. Every small action ensured the next step would be safe and proper. And as a viewer, you are now beginning to understand the courtship rules of this era at a calm and steady pace.
Chapter 2. Letter Writing and Silent Communication. In the Victorian era, love progressed more through silent rhythms, indirect expressions, and carefully considered actions than through words. Courtship was not only about one person showing interest in another, but also about gaining approval from the other party and society. For this reason, instead of speaking directly, feelings were usually conveyed through letters or very small, delicate gestures. Letter writing was both exciting and highly meticulous for young people. Writing a letter was not a quick form of communication, it was almost a ritual. Letters were not written every day, usually 1 or 2 letters were sent per week, and each word was carefully considered. Even the paper, pen, ink, and the seal on the envelope were of great importance. The color and texture of the paper could set the emotional tone of the letter. Blue paper could indicate a closer intimacy, while cream or white tones reflected a more formal and respectful approach. The length of the letters was closely tied to social status and intention. A letter that was too long could create pressure on the recipient. A very short letter could leave an impression of indifference or coldness. Therefore, every line was carefully thought out and written with precision. Spelling mistakes, smudged ink, or a poorly chosen word could cause a small crisis for both the writer and the recipient. In such cases, the letter could be immediately corrected or rewritten on another sheet, which required careful time and resource management. Silent communication was not limited to writing. Glances, hand signals, and subtle head movements during meetings were also ways to convey feelings. A young woman might slightly lower her eyes to show shyness. A young man could carefully tilt his head to express respect. Every movement had a predetermined meaning, and a wrong gesture could signal a minor social disaster. All of these methods of silent communication were both exciting and slow. Courting individuals had to learn patience, observing the small details of each day to develop strategies for the next step. For example, during a dance in a parlor, just a brief exchange of glances could take the place of a long, silent message. This look would measure the other person's interest and become a coded signal that had to be hidden from the eyes of families or chaperones. Small crises could also arise during correspondence. A letter might be delayed, sent to the wrong address, or the ink could smudge. Such situations tested the writer's patience and attention. When preparing a new letter, the paper and ink were carefully preserved and the writing was repeated with meticulous care. Every small mistake represented an important test in terms of limited resources and time management. This slow and rhythmic process served as a preparation for sleep for the viewer. The long and detailed narration of each step reflected both the slow pace of life at the time and the careful, deliberate nature of courtship. Time spent writing letters, silent glances, waiting, and managing small crises placed the viewer in a calm rhythm and allowed them to explore the Victorian understanding of love step by step. Letter writing required careful planning and patience. In this process, young people could neither express their feelings openly nor reveal their interest without adhering to social rules. These challenges turned romance into a slow, monotonous, yet highly rhythmic adventure. And so, with each letter sent, each glance exchanged, and each silent gesture completed, this calm and orderly rhythm formed the foundation of courtship in the Victorian era. Every small detail was a measure of both personal and social success.
Chapter 3: Social Events and Observations, the Elegant Dance of Love in the Victorian Era. In the Victorian era, social events were a complex stage where young people silently expressed their feelings, all shaped by strict societal rules. These gatherings were not merely for entertainment. They were rituals requiring careful observation, delicate gestures, and a blend of patience, grace, and dedication. Every step, glance, and conversation was like a dance in harmony with the era's sensitive social norms. A small mistake could shake the heart and challenge social reputation. As young people entered the halls, their eyes scanned the room. Women entered holding their elegant gloves, feeling the graceful folds of their long dresses, and carefully arranging every strand of their meticulously styled hair. Men in polished suits and meticulously pressed coats stood with poise, taking their places. Every glance was a silent message, every smile a tiny code. Women's heads tilted ever so slightly, revealing their most private feelings, while men extended their hands with care, signaling patient interest and quiet courage. Dance halls were in effect emotional laboratories for the young. Every dance was a tool to gain society's approval and share the rhythm of hearts. The first waltz step tested both courage and delicate emotions. A woman's eyes moving over her partner's hands could almost feel the rhythm of his heartbeat. The man had to execute his steps flawlessly while ensuring his partner felt comfortable and secure. Every misstep was a minor crisis. Every coordinated movement a silent victory of love. Between these steps, hearts would sometimes tremble quietly, and small smiles carried hidden hopes. At social gatherings, young people did more than dance. They carefully observed. A smile, a fleeting glance, a subtle hand movement, or a small change in jewelry, all were details shaping emotional currents. Young people read these signs attentively, attempting to understand the other's interest and intention. Each observation required patience, focus, and empathy. A misread look could endanger both heart and social standing. For this reason, they moved with quiet, cautious steps, paying attention to every detail. Small crises were common in these settings. A wrong step during a dance, a glance misunderstood, or an unexpectedly interrupted conversation forced young people to respond swiftly, testing the patient and meticulous nature of love. In these moments, small gestures, silent apologies, or polite smiles were used to maintain emotional balance. Each resolution served to safeguard both the heart and social status. Sometimes young people reinforced their observations through letters. Subtle gestures or glances noticed during a dance would be elegantly translated into words in subsequent correspondence. Letters were a way to maintain the slow, careful, and patient rhythm of love. Every line carried silent emotion, in harmony with the era's measured and deliberate lifestyle. Every word in a letter demonstrated patience, refinement, and emotional intelligence. Emotions accumulated during these observations could lead to quiet disappointment or bursts of small joy. A look that went unreciprocated left a slight ache in the heart, while a mutual glance created a slow, deliberate wave of excitement. Every feeling, every minor emotion combined with the rhythms of these social events to create the silent melody of love. Social gatherings were also spaces where young people developed emotional resilience through patience and dedication. Every step, glance, and small gesture taught the rhythm of love and the delicate balance of social norms. This process presented viewers with both historical detail and the deep, patient, and graceful nature of romance in a calm and measured pace. Through the rhythm of dances, observations, and letters, young hearts created a silent music. Every small crisis, every careful step, strengthened the elegant and meticulous melody of love. Viewers, listening to this melody, felt both the historical details and emotional intensity, realizing that in the Victorian era, love was not only in words, but hidden in every glance, gesture, and silent step. As young people left the hall, their hearts still carried a gentle excitement, their eyes a hint of hope, and their hands a trembling courage. Every moment of these social events slowly wove the patient and elegant rhythm of love, immersing viewers deeply in both the historical and emotional atmosphere of the Victorian era. Every detail, every small gesture inscribed the silent yet powerful melody of love onto the viewer's soul.
Chapter 4: Hesitations between written and silent expression. The quiet struggle of young love in the Victorian era. In the Victorian era, love for young people flowed like a silent, slow-moving river. Society's rules and rigid social norms made direct expression of feelings almost impossible. Every glance, gesture, and word was carefully chosen and measured. As a result, young love relied on a constant balancing act between written words and silent, nonverbal cues. Throughout the day, young people expressed their emotions and intentions in a subtle rhythm. A glance, a smile, a slightly tilted head, or a hand movement, each was a carefully coded message. Every step and gesture was both an expression of genuine emotion and a courageous act that had evaded the watchful eyes of society. This silent language was often more meaningful than words, as verbal expression could lead to misunderstanding or social punishment. Small crises encountered during the day continually tested young people's ability to manage their feelings. For instance, a young person stealing a glance at someone whose heart they had long kept secret would evaluate countless possibilities in seconds to see if the gaze had been noticed. The slightest smile from the other person could ignite a storm of joy in the heart, while a subtle frown might trigger quiet disappointment. These small moments of crisis tested both patience and emotional intelligence. Letters were one of the safest yet most complex tools of love in this period. Words written by a young person came from the deepest corners of the heart, carefully rendered on paper with elegant language and meticulous attention. Every comma, period, even the length of sentences and spacing between lines conveyed both the emotional intensity and social propriety of the message. Letters were often held for days, placed in secure envelopes, and delivered via trusted intermediaries. This process was a ritual in which young people continuously honed both patience and planning skills. Silent observation was just as important as letters. Young people would watch each other throughout the day, noting behaviors that would later inform small strategies for evening correspondence or future social events. For example, if a young man gently squeezed his dance partner's hand, the significance of that act extended beyond the immediate emotional intensity. It could become a subtle clue referenced in a later letter. These small details quietly but decisively set the rhythm of love. Small crises frequently arose during these written and nonverbal interactions. A letter could be lost, a misunderstood expression could cause a minor upset, or a glance could be misinterpreted. In such moments, young people had to respond quickly and maintain the rhythm of the heart. A slight smile, a subtle apology, or a small gesture served to soothe crises. This process strengthened both emotional resilience and social strategy skills. The silence of love often became a deep internal drama for young people. An unreciprocated glance left a small but lasting ache in the heart, while a mutual look sparked a slow, deliberate wave of excitement. Hearts oscillated between emotional storms and gentle ripples, with each feeling and reaction carefully measured. This inner emotional experience allowed viewers to sense that in the Victorian era, love existed quietly and profoundly, not only in social interactions, but within each individual's soul. In the late afternoons, young people would review their observations in preparation for the next day's events. Who made which gesture? Who looked where? Which small action indicated interest, and which was mere politeness? Every detail was noted and stored in memory. These observations shaped strategy and emotional approach for the next social gathering. Viewers witnessing this process could deeply feel the patient, meticulous, and continuously observant nature of love.
Every glance, every letter, every small gesture created a silent symphony in young hearts. This symphony formed the slow, elegant, and patient rhythm of love, conveying both historical detail and emotional depth in a prolonged, soothing manner. The era's slow-paced social life provided a unique setting to understand the emotional challenges, patience, and depth of love. Thus, navigating between written and silent expression, young people engaged in a quiet struggle of love. Each small crisis, glance, and letter shaped emotional resilience and patience, while the elegant and meticulous rhythm of love was inscribed into the viewer's soul in every step, every line, and every silent look.
Chapter 5: The Silent Victory of Love. Harmony between emotions and social rules. As the heavy, graceful rhythm of the Victorian era slowly descended into the evening hours, the quiet of the halls and gardens echoed the glances, subtle smiles, and small gestures observed throughout the day. Young people eagerly anticipated combining the emotional accumulation of the day with the carefully planned silent and written messages. Every movement, word, and look, though limited by social norms, prepared the stage for the quiet victory of heartfelt emotions. This evening, a special social event was planned for the youth. Music, dance, and small conversations created a setting where love could elegantly emerge. Golden light streaming through the large windows danced across walls and crystal chandeliers, softening the excitement and shyness on young faces. Women moved gracefully in long, elaborate dresses, while men stood poised in carefully chosen coats. Every step was a test of balance between adhering to social rules and following the rhythm of emotional expression. Dance was the central ritual of the evening. The first waltz steps were moments where courage and patience were tested. A woman, gently moving in her partner's hands, could feel her heartbeat but dared not speak her words. The man had to execute steps perfectly while ensuring his partner felt comfortable and secure. A misstep was a minor crisis. A harmonious step, a silent triumph. Each couple measured each other with fleeting glances, slowly approaching one another's hearts with every step. As the evening progressed, observations deepened. A smile, a slight tilt of the head, or a hand accidentally brushing another became silent communication, affecting the entire social scene and emotional rhythm. Young people found opportunities during the evening to confirm in silence the lines and subtle cues gathered in letters throughout the day. Every word, glance, and small gesture announced the silent but certain rhythm of love. Small crises intensified throughout the evening. A misunderstood glance during a dance, an abruptly interrupted conversation, or a letter that didn't arrive on time tested patience. In these moments, swift and elegant resolution allowed emotions to surface safely while protecting social standing. A slight smile, a quiet apology, or a graceful hand movement was the key to soothing the confusion. Managing these crises strengthened both social intelligence and emotional resilience. Later in the evening, some young people gathered the courage to deliver their letters, either in a hidden corner or via a trusted intermediary. These letters were not only a means of conveying feelings, but also a carefully nurtured strategy. Each line was filled with meticulously chosen words and silent messages, requiring the recipient to perceive both the emotional depth and social finesse. This moment allowed love to grow slowly but powerfully in the heart. Finally, small yet meaningful victories arose among the youth. A shared glance represented the long-awaited silent approval and mutuality. A letter brought the desired emotional response. Looking into each other's eyes, feelings that could not be put into words became understood. This silent victory was not only the beginning of a relationship, but also a symbol of emotional maturity shaped by patience, dedication, and grace. Viewers, following this long and detailed process, would realize that love could be expressed not just through words, but through every glance, gesture, and small action. Each crisis, letter, and dance step demonstrated how young people nurtured love with patience and elegance. showing that emotions could flourish even within the boundaries of social rules. By the end of the evening, young people left the hall both weary and satisfied. The feelings accumulated in their hearts, once silent, had now been partially expressed through mutual understanding, trust, and gentle affirmation. This victory was not merely a romantic success, but also proof of the social, emotional, and mental discipline of the era. Each young person, through this experience, gained insight into both the subtleties of love and the rules of social life. Thus, in the Victorian era, love remained a silent, meticulous, patient, and emotionally intense process. Small crises, written and silent expressions, observations, and rituals became both lessons and victories in young hearts. The viewer experienced through this journey both historical detail and emotional depth, witnessing how love grew slowly and gracefully through patience and strategy.
Chapter 6, Night and Silent Moments, the inner reflection of emotions and thoughts. As the sun slowly faded beyond the horizon, the noise of the halls and gardens gave way to stillness. Night deepened the heavy rhythm of the Victorian era, creating a quiet space within the hearts of the young after the social gatherings and dances. Every glance, every smile, every small gesture echoed softly in their chests. The hope and patience shimmering in their eyes merged with the deep blue of the night, offering the viewer a slow, rhythmic, and soothing tempo. When the young finally retreated to their rooms or small private corners, all their emotions and observations were reflected inward at once. The first glance exchanged during the dance, the silent messages carried through letters, and the resolutions of small crises replayed in their minds like a slow-moving film reel. Every detail had touched both their hearts and their social standing. This moment brought not only fatigue, but also emotional peace and a quiet sense of fulfillment. The faint glow of the room's lamps flickered over old wooden furniture and stone walls. Shadows highlighted the shy smiles and thoughtful expressions on young faces. A young woman sitting by the window recalled the glances exchanged throughout the day, feeling the excitement and slight tremor in her heart. At the same time, a young man relived the soft flutter he felt while holding his partner's hand during the dance. Within the silence of the night, he quietly made hopeful plans for their next encounter. These silent moments were both a personal and a social meditation. The youth evaluated the small crises and emotional rhythms of the day, reviewing which gestures reached the heart, which glances carried the right message, and which words strengthened the language of silence. This inner reflection sharpened their emotional intelligence and social awareness, turning each experience into a lesson for the next step. Within the stillness of the night, rereading letters, feeling the graceful handwriting and emotion-filled lines became both a soothing ritual and a way to slow the heartbeat. Each line was a bridge between past and present, a reflection of love's slow, meticulous, and emotional nature. Through the words in these letters, they came to better understand themselves and the other, experiencing within their own hearts the quiet victory of emotion. Small crises and disruptions now lingered only as faint memories in the darkness. A misunderstood glance had been quietly mended. Even an undelivered letter had been handled with patience and grace, preserving emotional safety. Every resolution protected both the heart and social reputation, preparing the young for the rhythm of the next day. Throughout the night, some youth would sit by the window watching the sea. They listened to the gentle waves brushing against the shore, the distant cries of seagulls, and the moonlight glimmering on the water. These moments of observing nature calmed the rhythm of their emotions and love, bringing a deep, restorative peace. Each wave carried a melody as meaningful as a smile or a glance, nourishing the soul and preparing the mind for sleep. Thus, the night created a rhythm of love and emotion within the inner worlds of the young. The silence slowed their thoughts and feelings,
amplifying the echo of patience and grace. In these quiet moments, the viewer gradually felt both the historical and emotional details. The strict social rules and elegant rhythm of the Victorian era turned into a soft melody within the heart, offering peace and preparing the mind for rest after a long day. As night deepened, the young slowly retreated to bed. As they laid their heads on their pillows, every glance, gesture, and letter from the day reappeared in their minds like a gentle dream. This process eased their transition into sleep and conveyed to the viewer the slow, patient, and graceful nature of love like a long, unfolding melody. Every breath, every heartbeat became a quiet and emotional meditation that carried the quiet and emotional rhythm of the Victorian era.
Chapter 7: Dream and Imagination, Carrying History and Romance into Sleep. The depth of the night marked a moment when the music echoing through the halls had long faded, and the moonlight gently touched the stone walls. All the grandeur, elegance, and strict social rules of the Victorian era slowly dissolved in the heavy silence of night, leaving behind only the emotions lingering within people's inner worlds. Young women and men, finally alone after a day filled with social pressure, still felt the excitement fluttering in their hearts, thinking again and again about the closeness felt during a dance, the silent glances exchanged in a crowded salon. As each of them quietly lay down in their beds, these thoughts ceased to be mere memories and instead became melodies opening the door to dreams. First thoughts upon lying down, the quiet whisper of emotion. When a young woman withdrew to her room and slipped into her delicate silk nightgown, she would place the small notes she had collected throughout the day on her bedside table. These notes might contain a single sentence about the meaning of a fleeting glance, or a small interpretation drawn from a soft whisper heard during a dance. She would think of the warmth of the young man's hand she danced with today, remembering the faint tremble between their fingers. Perhaps she believed she had felt his heartbeat through her palm. With a shy smile, she would close her eyes. At the same hour, the young man in his own room would also drift into thoughts. He would recall the graceful smile he had spent all day trying to see, the glance he caught from across the salon, the subtle sparkle in her eyes that appeared during their dance. These details would lift him from the real world and gently carry him into a softer, more romantic dreamscape. Neither would dare call this love, for in the Victorian era, love was not something spoken hastily. It was a fragile flower that grew slowly, strengthened with each glance, and was patiently nurtured. But the night made their hearts a little braver. Dream steps while drifting to sleep, the silent draft of the next encounter. Once their eyes closed, thoughts began to flow freely. The young woman would find herself in a dream where the grand salon was lit once more. Candles glowed, music drifted softly, and the young man approached her again through the crowd. In this dream, he was more confident than in reality. Perhaps he would finally say the words he had hesitated to voice earlier. "You made this evening unforgettable for me." With a shy smile, she would lower her head slightly, her fingertips brushing her gloves, the salon lights dancing in her eyes. This scene became the rhythm, guiding her gently into sleep. For the young man, the dream unfolded differently. He often imagined a fleeting encounter in the corridors. Perhaps she had paused for a second on her way to the salon and glanced at him. Maybe they had shared only a moment of eye contact. That single second bloomed in the dream, growing, expanding, turning into a new scene. In his dream, in that long corridor, emptied of everyone else, the young woman would stop and softly say, "Thank you for tonight. Dancing with you was lovely." Perhaps this moment would never happen in reality. Perhaps one day it would. But what mattered was how gently such a dream softened his heart, calmed his mind, and carried him towards sleep.
The deep breath of night, the heartbeat of love in silence. As the house fell silent, only the light touch of the wind on the leaves could be heard outside. Even the distant clatter of a carriage wheel matched the slow melody of the night. This silence made the young heart's emotions more vivid, for in the Victorian era, true feelings often revealed themselves not under daylight, but within the darkness of night. A young woman turning gently in her bed, resting her hand on the edge of her pillow, would hear all the excitement and tangled emotions of the day replaying inside her like a quiet melody. At some point in the night, she might notice that she was smiling, because the scenes she imagined while drifting into sleep gave her comfort, hope, and warmth. The young man, meanwhile, would see the moonlight crossing near his window. Running his fingers through his hair, he would take a deep breath. A sentence he wished he could have said that evening would drift through his thoughts. Perhaps he would whisper to himself, "I wish we could have talked a little longer." Even this small regret felt sweet, because patience was the most essential part of love during this era. The beginning of the dream, entering a world where love becomes real. As the first wave of sleep arrived, imagination turned into dreams. The rigid rules of the real world softened. Words grew bolder, glances more intimate, feelings more open. In the dream, the two young people would meet again in the same salon. But now the room was larger, the lights brighter, the music gentler. Time in the dream moved slowly. A single glance felt as though it could last for hours. Perhaps they danced again. Perhaps they walked together in a garden. Perhaps they sat on a bench and spoke softly beneath the moon's glow. In the dream, the silence of love was deeper, the feelings warmer. Even the Victorian era's strict rules seemed softer and more forgiving here. Fully surrendering to sleep, the peace offered by history and romance. As the dream deepened, their breaths slowed, their hearts calmed, leaving only the gentle echo of the day's emotions in their minds. This also shaped the viewer's transition into sleep. The narration slowed, sounds faded, feelings deepened, and the elegant, heavy, detailed world of the Victorian era fully transformed into a lullaby. Within this lullaby, the softness of a polite smile, the shy warmth of a glance, the graceful rhythm of a dance step, the trembling words of a handwritten letter, all blended together. These details etched both a historical journey and an emotional fulfillment into the listener's mind, guiding them towards a deep, peaceful sleep. And so the night closed. The romantic, graceful, unhurried rhythm of the Victorian era melted into the gentle embrace of sleep.
Chapter 8, The Silent World of Letters, Love's Journey on Paper. In the Victorian era, words did not fly as quickly as a glance, nor did emotions leave the heart with ease. Love was not something spoken immediately. A hastily uttered sentence could lead to misunderstandings that lasted a lifetime. That is why letters were the most delicate and safest refuge for feelings. For the people of that era, letters were far more than a few lines. A letter was the act of entrusting the most hidden corner of one's heart to someone else. Every word was chosen with care, every sentence crafted gently, and even each punctuation mark placed with intention. Because one wrong word could disrupt the rhythm of love, one missing expression could leave emotions unfinished. Thus, letters became the quietest yet strongest language of love. Preparing the letter, the language of trembling fingers. A young woman would sit at her desk while the flickering flame of a candle cast delicate shadows on the walls. When she reached for her pen, the rhythm of her heart would quicken. The words in her mind refused to fall into the right order. For the letter was not an ordinary piece of writing. It was her silent cry. Tilting her head slightly, she would pause and think, remembering a moment from the ball that day. Perhaps a soft glance she'd caught in the young man's eyes, or the warmth she felt while dancing. After a deep breath, she would place the first word on the paper. But it was never easy. For a woman to express her feelings directly in the Victorian era required courage. So she often chose indirect paths, speaking of the coolness of the wind, the dance of the candlelight, the notes of a melody melting into the night. In truth, all these images revolved around one person. But writing a name meant lowering every defense of the heart. She would pause with her pen, read every word she wrote, rethink, erase some, rewrite some, and keep others only in her heart. This slow and careful process was like a silent dance, weaving her emotions into words. The man's letter, courage hidden between sentences. On the other side, the young man would be seated at his own desk. His room was simpler, less adorned, but the excitement he felt while writing matched hers entirely. When he held the pen, he noticed the slight tremble in his hand. For even for men, putting love onto paper was not easy, perhaps even harder. The first sentence, usually written in hesitant steps, might begin like, "When I saw you dancing this evening," or "The way the light of the salon reflected upon your smile." These lines were only a small part of the feelings that had spun in his heart for hours. Yet even he hesitated to write them as boldly as he felt. As the letter continued, his words softened. The rhythm of his heart flowed between the lines, but it never became an open confession. Love in that era thrived on whispers, implied emotions, and gentle words. Before folding the paper, he would read every line again, sometimes changing a word, sometimes erasing an entire sentence, and sometimes simply smiling and leaving it as it was. For every word in that letter carried a possibility, a chance to touch her heart.
Delivering the letter. A small crisis, a great excitement. Even delivering the letter was an adventure of its own. Servants moving through doorways, small messenger children running through the house, sometimes an older trusted attendant. Each letter was carried by someone carefully chosen. For a letter falling into the wrong hands meant the spark of a rumor. And in the Victorian era, rumors grew faster than relationships. The young woman could sense even the slight tremor of the servant's hand delivering the letter. The young man waiting for a reply would count the minutes, perhaps watching the window, hoping to spot the messenger. At any moment, a crisis could unfold. The messenger might enter the wrong room. Someone else might intercept the letter. An older family member might notice something suspicious. Or the letter might be delayed, enough to tighten the heart with worry. But if the letter reached its destination safely, this small victory rose like a sunrise in the hearts of both young lovers. Reading the letter, the quietest moment of the heart. When the young woman took the letter in her hand, her heart would flutter with a soft anxiety. She would trace the folds of the paper with her fingertips, sense the faint fragrance lingering on it, and hesitate to open it for a moment. For the words inside could sometimes be more powerful than a glance, deeper than a dance step. When she opened the letter, the words would slowly wrap around her. His carefully chosen phrases, trembling sentences, shy yet hopeful expressions. Together, they would gently unravel the emotions she had tried to control all day. Sometimes her eyes would fill with tears, from happiness, surprise, or simply the warmth of knowing someone had been thinking of her. The young man, too, felt the same when reading her reply. As he saw her words, an unconscious smile would bloom on his face. Each word felt like a shy touch. Each sentence made his heart leap. This moment of reading was the quietest yet most powerful moment of love.
words blending into the night, love at the edge of sleep. After the letters were written and read, the night would settle gently around them. The young woman would lie down, placing the letter beneath her pillow, and close her eyes. The young man would fold his letter, place it in his drawer, and feel a soft warmth as he rested his head on his pillow. Both of them, at the same time, yet unaware of each other, would think the same thought. I wonder, is the other thinking of me too right now? This question drifted into the depth of the night, like a whisper slipping softly towards sleep. The letters became more than paper and ink. They turned into voices, glances, and touches dancing in their dreams. As they drifted into sleep, the scenes they imagined flowed gently from the sentences of the letters, making their dreams softer, calmer, more romantic. And as the night closed, the letters turned into a silent melody of love.
Night and silent moments, Victorian nights that whisper to the heart. As the day's splendor, conversations, dances, glances, and social commotion slowly faded away, the heavy curtains of the Victorian era would begin to close into the night. In these hours, the world surrendered to the feeling that occupied young minds the most, a love hidden in silence, a love that could not be spoken aloud. For Victorians, night was not merely darkness. It was the time when inner thoughts, secret desires, and unspoken heartbeats were felt most intensely. The noise of the day, the sharp eyes of society, and strict rules softened with the coming night. Even the faint crackle of a candle in a young woman's room became a melody accompanying the rhythm of her heart. Evenings, tired yet full of hope. Young people who could hardly speak during social gatherings and who could only meet each other's eyes for a few seconds during a dance would relive these tiny moments again and again in the silence of the night. A young woman, carefully removing her dress and loosening the pins in her hair, would feel a soft smile appear on her lips because the look on the young man's face when he noticed her hand trembling slightly during the dance still lingered in her mind. At the same hour, a young man hanging his jacket would pause for a moment because that same look, that faint smile, that almost invisible graceful step was still vivid in his thoughts. The day had not only been lived outwardly. In truth, what mattered most lived on, hidden within the night. Whispers within the darkness. The corridors of Victorian homes were almost completely silent at night. Only the soft creak of the stairs and the distant sound of carriage wheels accompanied the thoughts of young hearts. A young woman would slightly open her bedroom window and watch the breeze make the curtains sway. That breeze gently laid a cool yet peaceful layer over the excitement she had felt earlier that day. She would take a deep, slow breath. The chaos of the day had slipped away and her emotions had surrendered to the night. A young man, before extinguishing his candle, would gaze for a long while at the blank sheet of paper on his desk, a letter he had not yet begun but had composed 100 times in his mind. He wondered how to describe that single glance he had seen during the dance. Just one glance, yet powerful enough to linger through the entire night, refusing to let him sleep. Night did not give them the courage to speak, but it allowed them to dream.
Feelings that slowly grew. In these hours where time moved more slowly, young hearts quietly began to untangle their emotions. They wondered whether what they felt was merely a passing excitement or a sign of fate itself. Women would write a few lines in the small diaries on their bedside tables. Today we danced again. My hand felt as though it disappeared within his. For a moment, it felt as if the whole ballroom had stopped and only the two of us remained. Men, on the other hand, would lie on their backs, place a hand over their hearts, and try to feel again the warmth they sensed during the dance. These nights were when feelings grew, when sparks quietly turned into glowing embers. The dance of shadow and light. While candlelight flickered softly in the rooms, shadows moved across the walls. These shadows were as gentle and layered as the thoughts echoing in young minds. Sometimes, a shadow resembled the silhouette of a person. The young woman would blush slightly as she imagined the man she admired during the day. The young man, too, gazing at the shadows, would remember her graceful smile. Night was the invisible painter of love. It sketched onto hearts the emotions the daylight did not allow.
The depth of silence. Victorian nights carried a deep silence, not frightening, rather comforting, calming, and emotional. In that silence, young people could hear the sound of their hearts more clearly. When a young woman slipped beneath her quilt and closed her eyes, the first thing she felt was the peaceful stillness of her room. A young man, lying in bed with his hands behind his head, stared into the dark, struggling to quiet his thoughts. The deepest form of love hid itself in the silence of the night. The moment dreams began. As eyelids grew heavy, dreams took over. A young woman, in her dreams, returned to the same ballroom. The same music played, and she danced once more with a young man. But this time, there were no rules, no judging eyes, only the rhythm of two hearts. A young man, in his dream, heard the young woman's laughter, the very laughter that had made his chest flutter, even in the briefest moments of the day. In his dream, he handed her a letter, one that held all the feelings he could not express in reality. Night was where love continued. Dreams were where unspoken words finally found their voice. And toward the morning, as the night deepened, young hearts slowly drifted into sleep. But even before their eyes fully closed, the last thoughts lingering in their minds were always the same. A glance, a smile, a touch, a dance. The night hours of the Victorian era were when love took on its most fragile yet strongest form. Quiet, delicate, gentle, patient, and slow, yet deep, intense, and unforgettable. Night did not shout love aloud. It whispered it. And sometimes that whisper was far more powerful than all the noise of the day.
The silent magic of letters and the elegant journey of forbidden emotions. In the Victorian era, love often moved with an invisible rhythm, quietly, carefully, and deliberately. Open expressions of affection were frequently forbidden by the strict rules of society. Young people had to keep their feelings hidden in their hearts. It was for this reason that letters became the safest and most elegant vessels of love. Every line, every comma, every word was a carefully chosen symbol, a quiet echo of a hidden heartbeat. During the day, young people would observe each other from afar, exchanging messages through silent glances and subtle smiles during social gatherings. Yet true emotions were often expressed not with words, but with pen and paper. A small slip of paper, sometimes sealed with a delicate wax seal, sometimes tucked inside a slender lace envelope, carried not just a message, but a test of courage and hope. The writer revealing their heart, and the recipient carefully deciphering the meaning behind each line. Hands that trembled with every word. When writing, the hands of young lovers would often tremble. Each word put to paper was not only a reflection of feelings, but also an act that dared to challenge social conventions. To say, "I thought of you," might have been only a few words, but it could hold the weight of a glance, a smile, or a subtle gesture. The sentence, "I await a moment that belongs to you," carried patience, deep desire, and a secret love. Hearts would race as the pen moved. Eyes would follow the words on the page, and each word was carefully considered, with pauses lasting minutes to ensure the right choice. The delicate ritual of delivery. Letters were often delivered in secret. Sometimes a young servant would carry the note with quiet, careful steps.
Sometimes it was slipped into a purse during a dance. Every delivery carried both excitement and a trace of fear. If a letter were lost or delivered to the wrong hands, both the heart and social reputation could be harmed. Thus, the delivery of a letter became a ritual, a dance, a silent test in itself.
The quiet intimacy of reading. The act of reading a letter created its own emotional moment. The young recipient would retreat to their room at midnight, light a candle with trembling hands, and unfold the paper with care. Each line would be read repeatedly, the hidden meanings and the whispered sentiments between the words carefully interpreted. Warmth would rise in the heart, breathing would quicken, and sometimes the eyes would glisten, for each word carried a touch, each sentence a glance, each paragraph a tender moment. Small crises, big emotions. Crises could arise through letters as well. Perhaps a note reached the wrong person, the envelope tore, or a seal broke, risking secrecy. In such moments, young lovers had to think quickly, retrieve the letter, offer an explanation, or plan the next move. Each crisis tested patience and creativity, for love was managed not only with words, but also with strategy, care, and elegance. Letters as instruments of emotional growth. Letters also played a vital role in emotional development. Each written expression strengthened patience, empathy, and careful observation. Understanding the recipient's reaction, reading between the lines, decoding silent messages, all deepened the inner world of young people, expanding their emotional intelligence and the capacity of their hearts. Letters echoing through the night. A letter read late at night could resonate in the hearts of young lovers for hours. Each word was pondered, each sentence reconstructed in the mind. Perhaps they would lean silently on a pillow, eyes closed, wandering through the world of the letter with their imagination. Sometimes a tear would fall, silent witnesses to hidden love, deep longing, and forbidden feelings. Letters as catalysts for small gestures. Letters also inspired subtle responses, a word, a smile, a thank you, returned in gentle glances or small hand gestures at the next day's social events. This cycle allowed love to grow slowly and patiently, each word a note, each message a melody, each glance a rhythm. The silent orchestra of Victorian love played through letters. A letter as a source of warmth and courage. Ultimately, letters were not just vehicles of emotion, they were also a source of comfort and courage. Through letters, young people felt the warmth of their hearts and tasted the bravery of transcending social boundaries. Each letter represented a small victory of heart and spirit, a reminder of the silent yet powerful existence of a forbidden love. Thus, a letter received at midnight transcended the paper itself. It carried the trembling melody of a heart, the deep and delicate echo of emotion, and the silent but potent love of the Victorian era. Each line, each word, conveyed both the texture of a historic time and the timeless nature of love to the reader, slowly, gently, and emotionally.
Night and silent moments, the inner reflection of emotions. The sun had vanished beyond the horizon, and night slowly cast the somber yet elegant shadow of the Victorian era over salons and streets. Moonlight gently illuminated the stone-paved paths and sprawling gardens, merging with the soft glow of candlelight filtering from the windows of the salons to create a tender shimmer. This quiet offered young hearts and minds a chance to slowly explore their inner worlds after the rhythmic social bustle of the day had subsided. Night was the time when love's quiet but intense presence could be truly felt. Young people would now hear the echoes of feelings they had expressed earlier through letters or subtle glances across the ballroom, reverberating within themselves. Every look, every small gesture, every written line replayed in the depths of the mind, causing a delicate flutter in the heart and a soft thrill. These silent moments were a ritual of emotional processing and growth. Neither rushed nor impassioned, they unfolded in a slow, graceful, and patient rhythm. A young person might open a letter in a hidden corner, reading each word carefully under the flickering candlelight. Heartbeats quickened, breaths were held, eyes scanning for the hidden meaning between the lines. Each word struck as powerfully as a touch, each sentence as deeply as a glance. Every subtle message from the other side offered both reassurance and hope. In the Victorian era, a heart that could not express itself openly relied on the silent signs and symbols to survive. Throughout the night, young lovers might reflect on their emotions in solitude or quietly relive small moments of joy. A fleeting touch during a dance, a smile, an unreciprocated glance, or the opposite. Each played a different melody in the heart. These melodies, at once joyful and sorrowful, patient and passionate, taught the young how to manage their feelings, wait with patience, and protect their love with silent resilience. Small crises could also unfold in these quiet hours. A letter might go missing, a glance could be misunderstood, a word might be unexpectedly interrupted. In these moments, young hearts would rely on silence, careful observation, and inner reasoning to find a solution. Emotional storms were managed quietly, never fully spilling outward. Each crisis tested both resilience and subtle patience. Some would spend the night writing, recording their observations, feelings, hopes, and disappointments in secret journals. They lightened their hearts through words. These writings, often unseen by anyone, were intimate confessions addressed solely to the soul. Each line was as real as a breath, as deep as a touch, as precious as a secret.
The night was also woven with dreams and imaginings. Young hearts envisioned their future in the eyes of the other, imagining shared moments yet to come. A stroll through a garden, a midnight dance, a silent glance, each played repeatedly on the inner cinema screen of the mind, filling their hearts with imagined but genuine feelings. And there it was, the most delicate moment of the night. Emotions transformed into words, glances, and dreams. Love grew in a patient, meticulous, and inner rhythm. Each young person discovered the depth of love both in their own hearts and in the quiet signs of the other. This rhythm did not emerge from fleeting excitement or sudden passion. It moved slowly, calmly, and emotionally. The emotions accumulated over the night might be expressed through a silent tear or a trembling smile. These moments reflected the patient and elegant nature of Victorian love, conveying not only historical details, but also the silent, profound emotions of the human heart. With the first light of dawn, these quiet nighttime memories merged with the social rhythms of a new day. Letters, glances, dances, and subtle gestures came alive once more, allowing the elegant and patient melody of love to play again.
Sunrise and the reawakening of emotions, hearts slowly coming alive. As the sun slowly began to rise beyond the horizon, the first light of morning illuminated the heavy yet elegant world of the Victorian era. Golden and pink hues merged with the light streaming through the windows of stone-paved streets, expansive gardens, and grand salons, signaling a new life and a new rhythm in every corner and chamber. The silent emotions, dreams, and echoes of letters accumulated throughout the night trembled gently in the soft morning light, stirring a renewed energy within the young hearts. The young blended the emotions deepened during the night with the first rituals of the day. Every step, every glance, and every small gesture acted like a morning melody, helping hearts to awaken anew. Carefully chosen clothing, meticulously styled hair, and neatly fastened gloves represented not only outward appearance, but also emotional preparation. In the Victorian era, each morning offered young people an opportunity to manage both their inner emotional worlds and the strict expectations of society. Walking through the gardens, the young would recreate in their minds the dreams they had imagined overnight. Sunlight, the cool morning air, and the gentle breeze acted as an emotional stage, while a small glance, a smile, or a slightly bowed head stirred a quiet yet striking excitement in the heart.
Each observed gesture, the other's intentions, mood, and emotional responses were carefully noted. This observation, intertwined with the soft rhythm of the morning, created a slow but powerful melody of love. Even in this gentle morning rhythm, small crises could arise. Perhaps a smile was misinterpreted, or a glance unintentionally wandered towards someone else. Each misunderstanding tested emotional intelligence, requiring patience and delicacy. A moment of silence, a carefully delivered apology, or a graceful gesture could resolve these minor crises, preserving both the heart and social standing while teaching young people the art of managing emotions patiently.
Morning was also an ideal time for reading and writing letters. Lines penned during the night were revisited in the soft light, allowing hearts to once again feel the silent yet powerful impact of the words. Each letter carried the weight of a smile and the significance of a glance. The exchange of letters enabled emotions to be expressed safely, while reinforcing the young people's patient and elegant understanding of love. In these first hours of the morning, ballrooms and gardens came alive once more. Recalling the observations of the previous day, the young would study each other through subtle glances, quietly testing their emotions. Every step, every minor gesture, and every smile became a note in the meticulous dance of love and social convention. As hearts slowly awakened, emotions connected quietly but with deep strength. The rhythm of sunrise also provided a source of morale and energy. While strolling in the fresh morning air, young people engaged in light conversations, observing each other with silent glances that strengthened their emotional connection. Each step was both a physical and emotional ritual. Every quiet word nourished both heart and soul. This process conveyed to the viewer the slow, careful, and patient nature of love in the Victorian era, conveying not only historical details, but also the silent yet powerful melody of emotions.
Midday and the subtlety of emotions, the silent rhythm of love in the Victorian era. Midday was one of the most critical times for young people in the elegant yet restrictive world of the Victorian era. As the soft morning light fell upon the flowers in the gardens, the sun had risen higher behind the hill, casting short but meaningful shadows along the stone-paved streets. These hours were like a carefully choreographed dance, in which the young had to both adhere to societal rules and maintain the silent rhythm of their hearts. In gardens, along the edges of courtyards, and in corridors opening into the salons, the young observed each other's behavior with keen attention. Every step, every subtle glance, and every quiet smile carried a clue about the other's intentions. A smile, a slight nod, or the delicate touch of a hand on a book was a message, a glimmer of hope. In these moments, expressing emotions with patience and care was not only safe, but necessary. A single misstep could endanger not just the heart, but also social standing. Small crises were inevitable even at midday. A young woman might share a look that could be misinterpreted, or a young man might realize that a gesture could be too forward. In such moments, silent apologies, gentle nods, and carefully chosen words came into play. Each minor crisis was an opportunity to learn the subtleties of love and to develop emotional intelligence. By navigating these situations with patience and finesse, the young preserved both their hearts and their social standing. In the salons, midday tea breaks or light refreshments offered ideal moments for emotional interaction. Through quiet conversations and carefully selected words, young people found ways to express their feelings. Each sentence, each word could carry the weight of a glance or the depth of a smile. During these hours, emotional patience balanced the rhythm of love with conformity to social expectations. Walks in the gardens were both a physical and emotional ritual. The warmth of the sun, the gentle breeze, and the rustle of leaves accompanied the silent melody of love. Every step conveyed the quiet beating of the heart. Each encounter of glances brought small but profound excitement.
During these walks, young people carefully gauged each other's moods, intentions, and emotional boundaries, expressing feelings through subtle gestures.
Letters were especially vital as a means of communication during midday. Emotions accumulated from morning observations were carefully written down around noon and sent with elegant, meticulously chosen words. Every line carried the impact of a glance. Every sentence held the value of a smile. Letters allowed love to continue silently yet powerfully, reinforcing the young people's patient, refined, and delicate understanding of romance. Minor crises continued in social interactions during midday. A misunderstood look, the tension of an unexpected conversation, or an overly obvious gesture could force young people to think quickly and act with caution. Each challenge tested the safety of both heart and social standing. Through gentle apologies, slight nods, and careful words, they learned to overcome these situations. This process gradually revealed to the observer the patient, elegant, and meticulous nature of love. The emotional rhythm of midday also reshaped the morale and energy of the young. Quiet smiles, small jokes, and brief conversations warmed hearts while strengthening mutual interest. These subtle yet profound interactions allowed love to grow slowly and carefully, enhancing emotional resilience. Thus, at midday, the emotions accumulated in young hearts emerged once again through small gestures and silent expressions. Love continued to dance with careful elegance, and the observer could deeply sense that in the Victorian era, romance was hidden not only in words, but in every glance, every gesture, and every silent movement.
Late afternoon and the secrets of the heart. Emotional complexity in the Victorian era. As the sun slowly descended toward the west, the sky was painted in shades of gold, orange, and soft pink. These hours were a time of both physical and emotional transition for the young in the Victorian era. The emotions accumulated during the morning and midday surfaced quietly in the late afternoon, creating waves of hope and anxiety in their hearts. In gardens and salons, as a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, the young steps and glances shared the same rhythm, the silent, elegant, and sometimes complex melody of love. Late afternoon was one of the most critical periods for the young. In these hours, careful attention was required both to adhere to social rules and to express the hidden desires of the heart. Every step, every glance, and every gesture was measured with care, as small mistakes could lead to emotional confusion or misunderstandings. A smile could be too revealing, a glance could be misinterpreted, or a word could have an unexpected resonance. For this reason, the young planned each movement thoughtfully and chose every word meticulously. Observations and silent understandings. Young people sitting in the corners of salons observed each other intently. Slightly tilted heads, brief eye contact, and gentle hand movements allowed feelings to be communicated quietly. A young woman might lightly fidget with a ring on her finger to catch the attention of someone she admired, while a young man could extend his hands subtly to convey silent support and reassurance. These small gestures carry deep meaning in the language of love. Minor crises could arise even during these silent exchanges in the late afternoon. A misunderstood glance might create a brief hesitation or shyness, yet such moments were resolved through a careful posture, thoughtful choice of words, or a slight nod. Each small challenge tested the young's emotional intelligence and patience, guiding them to navigate both the rhythm of love and social norms harmoniously.
Garden walks and emotional deceleration. Short walks in the gardens during the late afternoon served as both a physical and emotional ritual. As the sun's final rays filtered through the leaves, each step was taken in silent harmony, and the rhythm of the heart merged with the rhythm of nature. Every step measured the impact of the previous one,
Every glance carefully gauged the other's feelings. During these walks, young people tested each other's emotional boundaries, expressed interest through subtle gestures, and maintained social propriety. Some young people prepared small notes and letters during these walks to summon courage. Emotions accumulated from morning and midday observations were carefully transcribed in the late afternoon and delivered with elegant, deliberate phrasing. Each line was as valuable as a glance, each sentence as meaningful as a smile. These letters allowed the slow, patient, and rhythmic progression of love to continue while reinforcing the young's diligence and devotion. Social crises and emotional patience. During late afternoon activities, young people occasionally encountered minor crises. A misstep during a dance, an unexpected resonance of a word, or a misinterpreted glance could create emotional confusion. Yet each crisis was managed gently and attentively. A slight nod, a silent apology, or a subtle hand gesture helped the young restore emotional balance. This process deeply conveyed to the observer the patient, elegant, and meticulous nature of love. Morale and emotional connections. In the late afternoon, all the emotions accumulated in young hearts emerged once more through small gestures and silent expressions. A smile, a light touch, or a shared joke strengthened the rhythm of their hearts and deepened emotional connections. These moments not only increased mutual interest, but also maintained social standing, allowing the young to uphold the graceful and patient nature of love. As the sun set, the observer once again deeply sensed that in the Victorian era, love was hidden not only in words, but in every glance, every gesture, and every silent movement. The late afternoon gently closed the day's emotional intensity and silent rhythm, leaving behind the patient and elegant melody of love in young hearts.
Evening events in preparation for the night, the silent waiting of love. As the sun finally disappeared below the horizon, the sky gradually darkened with deep blues and purples. The coolness of the evening replaced the warm daylight, marking a time of both relaxation and a new emotional test for the young in the Victorian era. Observations made during the day, silent glances, and subtle gestures became more pronounced in the calm atmosphere of the evening. These hours formed a quiet yet profound rhythm, testing the emotional patience and elegance of the youth. Evening events and silent preparation. As salons were prepared for dinner and light music, the young positioned themselves with careful attention, both physically and emotionally. Women adjusted the layers of their dresses and lightly touched their hair, while men made final checks to their coats and bow ties. Every movement took into account not only their own posture, but also the gaze of others, balancing social propriety with the subtle conveyance of emotional messages. During evening events, the young approached each other with silent coordination. A smile, a brief eye contact, or a graceful greeting were the safest ways to express emotions accumulated throughout the day. Every step, every gesture, and every glance had to balance both social norms and the emotional intensity in their hearts. This process allowed the observer to feel in detail the patient, silent, and meticulous nature of love.
Dinner and emotional exchanges. Dinner was not merely a physical necessity for the young, it was also an emotional ritual. Tables were elegantly set, candles flickered softly, and the dim light reinforced the romantic atmosphere of the salon. During the meal, young people carefully chose their words, using silent conversations and subtle glances to send messages to each other. Sharing a slice of bread, slowly offering a dessert, or passing a cup of tea were small yet meaningful gestures in the refined and emotional language of the time. Minor crises could occur even at dinner. A misunderstanding, a spilled drink, or inadvertently disturbing a neighbor would prompt the young to find a quick and graceful solution. A light apology, a delicate smile, or a courteous gesture were ways to resolve these incidents while protecting both the heart and social standing. Each resolution was critical for maintaining the silent melody of love and the delicate social balance. Preparation for night and emotional anticipation. After dinner, the young would retreat to gardens, corners of the salon, or open balconies, silently processing the observations and emotional energy accumulated throughout the day. Under the soft light of the moon and stars, hearts slowly opened, and feelings were communicated quietly but intensely. In this hour of limited verbal interaction, glances and small gestures conveyed interest, with patience and elegance sustaining the emotional waiting. Some prepared letters or notes during these moments, elegantly putting into words a gesture, a glance, or the significance of a small detail noticed during the day. These letters served as a bridge, patiently continuing the rhythm of love while reinforcing the emotional intelligence and patience of the young. Every line, every word was as valuable as a glance. Each sentence strengthened the silent excitement in the heart. The importance of silent waiting. The evening hours tested the young's emotional patience and elegance the most. Every glance, every subtle gesture was carefully used to balance love and social propriety. The silent waiting reinforced the patient and rhythmic rhythm of love, creating deep attachment and a strong accumulation of emotion in their hearts. The observer experienced, in detail, both the historical context and the silent yet intense melody of love. Preparation for night and emotional anticipation. After evening events and the silent waiting, the young slowly returned to their rooms or hammocks, leaving behind the emotional intensity and minor crises of the day. Closing curtains, gently flickering candlelight, and the quieting salon allowed the silent melody of love to resonate in their hearts through the night. Thoughts before sleep reflected both the day's emotional rhythm and the patient rhythm of love, allowing them to close the day with a careful, elegant, and meticulous emotional process. Evening was the perfect time to observe the silent, patient, and profound nature of love in the Victorian era. Every glance, every gesture, and every quiet moment revealed both historical details and the rhythmic, elegant melody of the heart. Through preparation for the night and silent waiting, the young preserved the patient and graceful rhythm of love for the following day, drifting to sleep with silent yet powerful devotion in their hearts.